weeks ago. It is an annual requirement, and anybody here in this fusion center has also got to go through that once a year. So we do document that. I document when they go through that training every year, as well as all the other agencies. They do that as well. So I reach out. We do outreach with all the local agencies. Certain police departments have intel guys, also Plano PD. It's a new concept coming for a lot of these guys. So. But we do provide them also trainings here on how to handle that intelligence and stuff. So.
He's a graduate of Louisiana Tech.
You're too young to have done all that.
So if you have any questions, feel free to either ask me afterwards or during this.
During this,
I've got a question, and this might sound a little off the wall, but we've heard so many off the wall things, and that's why we're here to kind of learn what our local is all about.
Most of them are true.
Yeah, most of them are true, which is the real alarming part. But so what John just said about the whole, the very vague, category of people who believe in local government, basically the way the Constitution and Republic was set up, compared to the feds calling every single shot, or the majority of them. I can say, I'm not going to speak for all these people, I would totally be on that list, So some I know in Washington will very immediately consider me some kind of right-wing, threat, which is ridiculous. But so my concern, and many people that aren't even here that have talked to me about this, is if, say, some really unfortunate scenario should come up where there was some pressure or some direction given from the national or federal level to, we need to start getting information, we would like to know what you guys have on this type of person, or that kind of thing, where I now am at risk. What can we expect out of you, Kelly, and Oscar, as far as protecting, my privacy, my information, myself, as far as somebody wanting to get all the information on me that they can. I'm not even profiling.
Oscar can speak to that, but we actually have a form. If someone asks us, another law enforcement agency, ask us for information about anybody that we have in information, not in an intelligence file, but information, then we have a process that's pretty extensive that they go through to answer all the questions, and we have to be comfortable with that they're doing a formal criminal investigation based on reasonable suspicion, maybe not less than probable cause, before we give them any information.
Well, the key with that is reasonable suspicion. If somebody says it's reasonable to suspect somebody that believes in smaller federal government and stronger local and state government, if that's their reasonable suspicion, how do you guys qualify that? Do you consider that reasonable? Or do you say this woman hasn't committed a crime and that's your reasonable suspicion because she believes in smaller federal government?
I'm sure if they have a list, I'm on that list too. So, I'm a big student of the Constitution and public affairs student, and so
Well, then
yeah.
People hear these things that are actually going on in places, and then they hear the kind of things that might be a little bit more paranoid, theory or whatever, but and some of us, interact and help, facilitate education on the Constitution and all this kind of stuff. So we get asked, questions sometimes by very alarmed people who just don't know what.
When an incident occurs, like with at the national level in Missouri, and they were focusing on those groups, it takes a long time to overcome that. It's taking a long time for us to overcome the awareness bulletin that went out that was a clip and print of newspaper article, and so you just have to. They will have to continue to show due diligence, and that they're not doing that. I mean, the Mike German, who is the liaison for ACLU at the national level, works directly with those people. Now, before a bulletin goes out, Mike German sees it. Okay, he approves it.
What if it's classified?
Well, I think they've actually given him a clearance.
For like the threat,
and
can't trust him anymore.
So I'm not certain. I just went through a training class with him out at the Naval Postgraduate School, but I'm not sure about the classified. But things that are, most everything that goes out is sensitive, law enforcement sensitive, and the way they classify that is I think that people like Mike German, that they've reached out those groups to ensure that doesn't happen again. Just the same reason that we've done outreach on 2 occasions with large groups of civil libertarians. We're finishing up our privacy policy, and I plan on the final draft sending it to the ACLU for their approval as well. Y'all are free to look at it as well too.
Do y'all have a privacy advisory committee? I know some of them have citizen oversight or you know, community leaders.
Yeah, we talked to the ACLU about being on our advisory board. They were more comfortable with setting alongside of that, and so they'll vet our policies, our concept of operations. So September is when we're going. Hopefully, we'll hit the ground with our advisory board, and then soon after that, I'll be pushing hard to get the advisory board to adopt that policy review council, which will be made up of organizations like that for review.
I'm sorry. Back to her question, you were answering her question about an agency requesting information. You said for a criminal case that you would go through these procedures and a form and everything. What about the intelligence end if it was just for
Non-criminal.
Yeah, non-criminal.
No, we
won't. Basically, there is no. The whole reason for intel oversight and all that stuff stems from the 50s and everything, when all these guys in the military were doing all that, collecting on your neighbor, collecting on your girlfriend or whatever. There's
coming back around again.
There's stringent rules now, both federally at the state and at the local, even here with the rules that we have. But somebody's not going to be able to come here, even if it was the FBI or the CIA or anybody, if they wanted to come here and ask for information on a non-criminal predicate deal. If they come and they say, I need, we think Joe Blow is doing this, and well, the first question that comes out is, okay, I'm going to need some kind of, criminal predicate, and I'm going to need a case number or something that says that you've opened up a law enforcement investigation or law enforcement case against these individuals. And they're going to have to provide that to me. Now, I can't police those agencies. If that individual, who's a sworn special agent, by one of those agencies comes to me and he shows me his badge and he shows me credible information or a case number or whatever that says this is what we're looking at, then as a county official or whatever, I'm obliged to facilitate what they've legally asked me for.
So they could just be looking for somebody who attended some kind of a demonstration, and they could come to you and say, we want information on.
No, not without. I'm going to ask my set of questions initially. I'm going to ask, what is the criminal? And if they just come up with they can't just say. I mean, they're going to have to come up with legal, wording that says what the actual criminal investigation is. I can't just.
So they could falsify, but he can't check to see what they're falsifying.
Right. I mean, if they say that they murdered somebody and that's not what they're really doing, I have no way of knowing that.
Right.
And then now I'm in a position where I just can't.
I
can't put them on a poly or anything like that. So, but that's but it's all gets documented, and that's the thing, that we document it so it's transparent to anybody. So if you felt as if that was going on and you did an open records request here, we could provide you with that information.
Well, that's good.
Now, we visited the Arizona Fusion Center like 6 months ago or so, the ACTIC, and there, it wasn't the director, it was the site manager or something. She told us that if there's going to be a big demonstration, they actually run the organizer's name through their database to ensure. And then later on, I came across this document. It's by David L. Carter. He's a PhD out of Michigan State University. Basically wrote his dissertation. You know, probably are familiar with it. It's called the Law Enforcement Intelligence Function, State and Local Tribal Agencies. And in it, there's a section titled Collection Issues. And he states, on one hand, collecting information on people in situations where criminal activity is only a possibility may violate their civil rights if no crime occurs and the records remain on file. Conversely, not gathering it may be negligence should community security become compromised if violence or property damage emerges from the event. Then he goes on to say departments should collect information that relates to establishing a criminal predicate. So before a criminal predicate has even been established, they want to grab information to establish that. He goes on to say the type of information about demonstrators may include personal data, group organization, the basis of their ideology, their goals, what they hope to accomplish, including changes to policy or law, their protest style, their mood. So, I mean, it's great that you guys are telling us that, you know, y'all go through these safeguards, but it's obvious that, you know, this guy who's supported by the federal government is trying to push otherwise, you know?
Sure, and I understand what you're saying, and the difference here is going to be that the Fusion Center here is not a law enforcement agency. So we don't initiate any of those criminal predicates, we don't initiate any of the investigations, we don't do any of that. So if a law enforcement agency like the Bureau or Dallas PD or whatever, if they have the authority to initiate that, they can do that. They can say, well, let me look up this organization, or let me look up somebody's MySpace or something and see, you know, because there are demonstrations now. If they do ask us that question, before I can access any databases, and you have to understand the state has, you know, when they do criminal background checks and all that other business, you go through several steps before you actually get into the system. And a lot of those steps are asking you, what are you doing going into the system? And I've got, you know, rules and documents that I sign that say I'm not going to be accessing, you know, just because you decide you're going to have some more get together at a park over here in Allen, and somebody calls me and says, hey, Joe Blow's getting together, can you run everything you got? Well, the first thing that at least we're going to say here is, well, no, I can't, not until, I mean, why? What's the deal?
Right.
Because we understand that you can peaceably assemble and do all that stuff. You know, now, they're free to run it through Google or whatever they want to do.
Our show
Yeah,
at your
that's what I was
house, which
gonna
happened
say.
in Austin recently. We had a pro-Palestinian activist who just opened her door and FBI was there.
Two FBI. They were from the JTTF.
Oh, JTTF.
So
right.
we'll just save that for the JTTF.
That's right.
Where is that, by the
That's
way?
where
Is
I
it
had
in
it
this
one
area?
last time.
The
There's a
JTTF.
North Texas Joint Terrorism Task
They have
Force.
the Dallas FBI headquarters is where they're at.
You
So
don't
then it all
interface
comes
with
back
them
to what he
also.
said originally,
No.
planning and communication,
Correct.
not enforcement so much, but it's been going
Right.
other places.
Well, as a point of fusion, wouldn't, I mean, if I was an FBI agent and I wanted to investigate somebody that's doing a pro-Palestinian peace rally, which has happened in the past, and it's going to take place in a small city in Collin County, would it not be prudent for them to first contact the Fusion Center and then you guys contact the local police department?
So far they haven't, but more than likely they would go to the department where that's being held to see if they've had, you know, any previous incidents involving that group, possibly. And I can't speak for David Carter, but you know, the message that I get from that is that law enforcement does have a due diligence to ensure that a group is or not going to be a threat. And so they can go, like any other citizen, and look at open source and discover. And then where they carry it from there determines whether it's appropriate or inappropriate. And so, but no, we haven't had anyone contact us about any groups that were doing protest in any manner.
Let me bring one more thing to your attention. And this is, I don't know, I guess a warning to y'all, or just I wanted y'all to be aware this is out there. Do y'all do any training with the state and local terrorism training office under the Bureau of Justice Assistance?
I mean, we do, the Bureau of Justice Assistance trains a lot of local and state law enforcement agencies. So it just depends. They do road shows, sometimes we go there. I mean, it would just depend on the training, which particular.
Yeah, that's a pretty
Is there a
big,
particular one
broad.
you're asking about, or? Go ahead.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, it's a document, warning signs of terrorist events, and it's a little pocket guide. This is the PDF version. And basically it brings items that I imagine they train law enforcement and fusion centers to be on the lookout and trigger a suspicious activity report being filed. But on one page it has you know, possible signs of terrorist activities. But then it's really disturbing. It goes on to have a section, warning signs of domestic terrorist warning signs. And some of the things they say, if you have a fortified residence, or if you have video surveillance equipment on your property, then you might be a potential domestic terrorist. They go on to say if you make claims regarding government conspiracies, sovereign rights, or common law, which I do all the time. Also, a distribution of radical literature in public places, or claims that law enforcement or the government is illegitimate. Additionally, statements made in public settings that advocate terrorist/extremist views. And it's important to note on that one, there's two versions of this document. One's a PDF format, the other one's a little physical pamphlet. I went to the National